Hey, what's up? So I've got a story. I've got a few stories, but I've got one that I want to tell now. So 3 years ago today, I sat down with my thesis group for my web documentary on comic book culture. The day after Paddy's Day, one of the guys had gotten a bit lost. At least two of the four of us were hungover. We were sitting around a table in the canteen in DCU, kind of tired and miserable, and the lads just wanted to get home and probably just drink a lot of water or go back to drinking alcohol until everything wore off. I don't really know, but we decided we had to we had to make a decision on what we were going to do for our documentary. We had zero ideas up until one of the lads suggested zombies or comic books, because those were the two most current things we could think about that were also quite visual. So the Sunday before we met up, I was in work back in the old bookshop, and I was on lunch and just went on to Google. And I Googled everything I could find about zombies. There were like 5 things in Ireland that I could find about zombies, and that was not enough. We wouldn't have gotten a project out of it. Some of the things weren't happening anymore. The Dublin Zombie Walk hasn't happened in years because of the Lewis Roadworks. So we were kind of in trouble with that, to put it lightly. So I also looked at the comic side of things, and I already knew Anthea West, and I knew about Jason Brown from Button Press. I knew about Sonic Kisses and Whittlewade, who were cosplayers, because we were going for culture, not just comics. So I thought, okay, that's 2 creators and 2 cosplayers, so we've people from community and people who make stuff. And then I knew about Will Sliney. He just released Celtic Warrior with a Brown Press, so then there was also a Brown Press we could talk to. So I made a little short list, which ended up being about twice as long as the zombie list. Brought it in, shouted the lads and said, okay, we can do comics. We don't have to do comics, but we can do comics. We have all of these things we can do. And I know half these people. And either because they liked the idea or because they were too tired to discuss it anymore, on March 18th we decided, okay, yeah, we're going to do comic book culture in Ireland. We didn't have a name, we didn't have a logo, we hadn't contacted anyone. That didn't happen for like a week or so later, maybe 2 weeks, maybe even a month. I can't even remember the timeline. Will Sliney is the first person I contacted, and he responded very quickly with like 3 words to say he would do it. But he was also then the last person we interviewed, which was a kind of backwards way of doing things, but we wanted to confirm him before we confirmed anyone else, because he was like star power. You kind of need someone big when you're doing something. So we also wanted to get some variety. So we met up with creators who weren't working with the major publishers. So we met up with Anthea West and Trina Farrell on the same day. So we interviewed them together and separately. Paddy Lynch, who was involved with Stray Lines. We went to the Comic Labs workshop that Paddy is part of a couple of times. We went to the Comic Jam a couple of times. We went to 5 conventions in as many months, or maybe less, April to August. I'd never been to a convention before. Mental. I think we only paid for 2 tickets, 2 sets of tickets, and then the rest were press passes. Excuse me. We ended up meeting the likes of Lightning Strike. We met a few cosplayers. We got to record an engagement, which was insane. It's now the video that the couple can show their friends who weren't at the convention where the engagement happened. They were dressed as Harley Quinn and Joker, which was really cool. She had no idea. She thought it was a photo shoot. Yeah, it was a really cool project. And because of it, I ended up finding other events, including the one that became the Geek Mart later, or the Geek Mart started on the back of, I should say, when it needed a total rebrand and, to be a bit more than just comics. And because of that event, I met Gareth, who I then started doing the Frankie comics with. And this is where we come back full circle, because today, March 18th, One Comic to Rule Them All has been released. And that is the first time myself and Gareth have a comic in an anthology. Individually and together. It's a Frankie comic. It's like a Meowth comic. It's our little crazy cat character we have on the wall here. That drawing is by Rafa Labosco. Um, we we have it's a fantasy anthology. You might guess by the name. So we did something called A Knight's Tale. I decided I would go for something completely insane. So we have like a fake little kingdom called Parodica, mountains called Cliche. That's the whole mountain range. The villain is a dog, as in our first story. It's actually the same dog, but it's a complete redesign. Um, and in this, he's called Canine Shade because it's a fantasy thing. We wanted it to sound kind of different. Doggo didn't really suit a fantasy story. And he lives in Castle Canine. There's sword fighting, which Gareth hated because it turns out not very many sword fights in comics that you can see online. And there's a few other things. There's fourth wall breaks. There's cat puns wearing. There's yeah, it's insane. We shared a lot of the work on that. So I'd written one script and then we threw it out because Gareth didn't like some parts. It wasn't specific about what he didn't like. It's fine. The script was actually quite bad. So the second script was the one we worked with. Gareth drew it. I flatted and did like the palette for the colours. Then Gareth did the highlights and lightning and all the cool things that people will go, oh, I like that colours. And then I lettered it, and then I lettered it again, and then I lettered it again because I kept not quite meeting the standard that Jamie Mee, who's the editor, was looking for the anthology. And he was very nice and accommodating and gave me lots of advice. Yay. But yeah, 3 years to the day since I started my journey to comics, I am in an anthology. And I'm still kind of baffled by it. I mean, it's a great story. Not to brag, but we actually did a good job at it. Like it's there's a clear markation between that and the first one we did. You can see how each of us progressed as storytellers and how Garrett's art has progressed, and it's actually in color, which none of the other Frankie stories that aren't just one page are. So it's mental. I'm still getting my head wrapped around it, but yeah, you can buy it if you want. I'll leave a link in the description or wherever YouTube decides to put the description in years to come. It's digital only at the moment because we literally just got sent the file. Every creator gets to sell the comic through their own little websites. I'm selling through Gumroad because it's convenient, and there will probably be a print version at some point from somebody, but we're not looking into it at the moment because we're trying to put out a couple of other books. But yeah, it's out, and the whole coincidence of the timing still blows me away. And I love the comic, I really do, and I love getting to work on it. And yeah, I generally just love the Irish comic community, so I'm glad that I get to be part of it. Yeah, mental 3 years.